Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Twitter commenters tore a hole in my heart, Chief. We was coming back from vacation, just delivered the episode. The Local Ghost mini-episode. 1,100 downloads. Episode went up in 30 seconds. Didn't see the first internet troll for about half an hour. Teenager, 13, 14. You know how you know that when you're looking at your podcast metrics, Chief? You tell by looking at the juvenile remarks in the comments section. What we didn't know is our episode that hit so many hosting sites wasn't just our friends listening. iTunes didn't even delist us for a week. Very first light, Chief, trolls come cruising. So we formed ourselves into tight podcast networks, you know. It's kind of like old squares in a battle like you see in a calendar like the Battle of Waterloo. And the idea was troll comes to the nearest podcast, and that podcast host, he'd start replying and trash talking and blocking, and sometimes the troll would go away. Sometimes he wouldn't go away. Sometimes that troll, he looks right into your eyes. You know the thing about an internet troll, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, it doesn't seem to be living until he comments. And those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The internet turns on you, and in spite of all the pounding and hollering, they all come in and they rip your show to pieces. You know, by the end of that first dawn, lost 100 listeners. I don't know how many trolls, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many listeners, they average 6 an hour. Thursday morning, Chief, I bumped into a friend of mine, Adam Breckner from Ithaca, podcast host, family man. I thought his show was just on hiatus. Reached out to see what was up. Show was bobbing up and down in the ratings just like a kind of top upended. Well, his listenership had been cut in half. Noon the 5th day, Mr. Wackler, a Facebook fan, saw us. He swung by our page and saw us. Young fan, a lot younger than Mr. Wackler. Anyway, he saw us and come by, and 3 hours later, a big fat social media promotional effort comes down and starts picking our ratings up. You know, that was the time I was most frightened, waiting for our stats. I'll never log into our hosting provider again. So, 1,100 listeners downloaded the show. 316 kept their subscription, and the haters took the rest. June 30th, 2017. Anyway, we delivered the episode.
Hey guys, welcome to the Civil Gore Podcast, episode 17. I am your host, Tim.
And I am your other host, Brian. And we are excited to be back with a full episode after our technical glitches, so to speak, last week.
So as you guys know, last week was the 42nd anniversary of the release of Jaws, so we are proud to present one of my all-time favorite movies for this episode.
Yes, mine too. And in honor of the excitement, we actually have a very special guest with us today.
Yes, Jaws superfan Amanda!
Woo! Welcome, and thank you for coming on the show. Because this is, again, just like her she's the better half of our other podcast royalty that has made a guest appearance on there, Kevin Wilson.
His better half is right.
Yeah. and I gotta say, just to open this, it's you know, I mean, he's, you know, knowing Kevin for a couple of years now, I finally got to meet Amanda just recently at the Carowinds meetup, and I just want to say you are as awesome as I assumed you were, based on just all the talk he has about you. And
oh my God!
So
thanks.
yeah, and as they say, as my people like to say, he used to quell about you. So
my people.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's just I'm super excited to have you on the show now, especially that I met you, and I have a feeling this is going to be one for the ages. This will be fun.
Yeah, but the only problem is, now that Amanda's on the show, people are going to keep wanting her back.
That is true. Well, we may have to
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we may just have...
We're going to be replaced.
Yeah, we may just have to find other movies that that you like that we can have you on.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of that, actually, somehow the word got out that Amanda was going to be on. Because,
What?
yes, because someone came over specifically to listen to the recording of this podcast at my house, and he's right over here.
Oh my
I
God.
think he's coming on. Oh, wait. Oh, he's actually taking the mic away from me. Hello, Amanda. So glad that you're on this episode.
Okay, no! I'm closing my eyes, and I can't plug my ears because I have headphones on, but if I could plug my ears, I would be plugging them right now. That freaks me out.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I had that planned for like 2 weeks. So I had...
Oh, God. No!
But that's it.
It's
That'll be the last
creepy.
one for the night.
I don't believe you at all.
I'll try. I promise. I usually keep my promise, so.
All right,
God.
so Amanda, you get to participate in our first chop. Yay!
Oh, Lord.
So here we go. As she said, a bunch of movies she doesn't know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
this week I watched Train to Busan.
Okay,
I hope
think...
I'm pronouncing
Yeah,
that.
I'm with Amanda on that one. I don't know what that is either.
That is a Japanese zombie movie that
Oh.
takes place on a train, and it is awesome.
I think I want to see that.
What is Busan?
It's some city in Japan. But yeah, it's I've heard a lot about this one. I finally got to catch it because everybody's raving about it, and it's every bit as good as the hype suggested. So definitely go get that one. Check it out. It's just a really fun. And by now we're kind of all burned out on zombies except for Amanda because she runs a Walking Dead.
Oh, right.
Exactly. Not at all
Which-
burnt out on
Which
zombies.
you will need to pimp your blog at
Yes,
the end
yeah.
of the show.
Oh, I will.
We'll give
Okay.
you plenty of pimping time.
Sweet.
Yeah, but you know, even I'm kind of a little bit burned out on zombies, but man, this movie brought the fun back in the zombie genre.
So is Busan a real place? Because if it is, we have a friend that is currently in Japan right now, and we
I
need to
have
send
no
her there.
idea.
Oh, God.
Yeah, my knowledge of geography, as you know, is not the best in the world.
So, how gory is this movie? I feel like that's kind of a dumb question. I'm sure it's... Civil
Yeah,
War.
it's it's no worse than what you've seen on Walking Dead. Actually, it's actually not that gory compared to Walking Dead.
Okay. I might watch this.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, if don't mind reading subtitles, obviously, because it's in Japanese.
Right.
But the other one I watched was Predator.
Like the old school?
The old school Predator, because we have a game night every week because I'm a freaking nerd. And we played Legendary Encounters Predator, which is a Predator-based card game. So I had to watch, I had to watch the movie beforehand. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm a dork.
Oh, we're all
That's
dorks
right.
here, please.
We're about to podcast about the movie Jaws.
Yes.
I think you're in good company.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
podcasting in general has got to have some kind of nerdiness to it. I mean,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. And if you're listening to this, you're also a nerd because you're listening to a podcast.
Bingo.
yes, and most likely, probably either on your iPhone or something, which is probably you're so proud of, and it's some nerdy techie thing. So everyone's a nerd somehow. So
Exactly.
right. And then the final one, I'm not going to say much more about Predator because everybody knows how awesome that
Yeah.
movie is. So the final one I watched, and the one I saved specifically for this week, was 47 Meters Down, which is the Mandy Moore shark movie. As it's billed.
Sorry, I'm
And-
literally intrigued.
Yeah, so this is about Mandy Moore and Claire Holt play two girls that, and you've seen this many a time, where they go on vacation and they're out of their element, and some guys talk them into going scuba diving, and of course things go awry. So the movie is basically about them getting trapped 47 meters down under the water. Now,
spoiler alert.
spoiler alert. I mean, you see that from the trailer, but now I will say this movie is billed kind of as a shark movie. They really push the shark angle, but the movie's really not technically about the sharks. It's more about just survival. It's more of a survival movie. So there's a lot of things that go wrong in addition to sharks.
Oh, God. Those poor
I
people.
know. What,
So-
they ate bad seafood on the way over to the boat, right?
Yeah. It was a series of unfortunate events.
Oh, God.
But it was okay. I actually enjoyed it. It's not one I think you need to rush out and see in the theater. I would wait for a rental. But as far as just a like a Friday night popcorn movie, it was pretty entertaining. If you like seeing girls trapped underwater
Oh God.
for 2 hours.
And if you do, we need to talk.
Yeah, you might need to reevaluate your life if you actually admit that you like girls being trapped underwater as the impetus to see that film.
I do love Mandy Moore.
Yeah.
Like, I will definitely go see anything with Mandy.
Now let me guess.
And it's
I heard she has to sing in movies, right? Is that a clue? Does she sing in this anywhere?
I don't remember her singing, but she's in This Is Us, the show,
Oh, right.
and she plays like an older character. Like she plays more of a mom character, and in this movie, she's playing like a really young character. So it's kind of weird watching her in this film because she's supposed to be more of like a early 20s college type something in this film, and I'm so used to seeing her on This Is Us as like a matriarch mom figure. It was kind of jarring.
Well,
If you were to open up a conversation about This Is Us, I would be so down, but I don't think that's the right
This is not the right
platform.
venue.
however, I will say this. I did hear rumors that they are going to intertwine the two. And the sequel is called This Is Us 47 Meters Down. So, it's...
That would be awesome.
Right? Yeah.
Oh God. Oh no, there's like 3 plucky children and the well-meaning husband, but they're all underwater.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Hey, Kickstarter number 15.
There we go. There we go. We got it. Okay, now I can't wait to hear about Brian's selection for this week.
Yeah, I only got to watch really because based on I had another trip this past weekend, and so I really didn't have much time the last couple of weeks to watch anything other than Jaws, which I actually watched I think like 3 times to prep for this podcast, just because because the first time I watched it, just to see it again. Second time I watched it again because I loved it so much. The third time I watched it kind of like, to really pinpoint some cool notes. But so I watched one of Shudder's shorts, and, I mentioned before in the show how much I love the short horror films sometimes, because I think nowadays they're so good because so many horror movies have been redone again. So to see a quick short doesn't give you time to say, oh, I've seen that before, kind of a thing. So this one, I can't really give too much away from it because there is somewhat of a surprise to it. But it's called I Want You Inside Me, and yeah, it's pretty graphic. I'll give you this. It's if you've seen the movie Teeth, you might get a little bit of an idea.
I've not seen the movie Teeth.
Oh, you haven't had the joy of seeing that?
No.
So and
describe Teeth to her.
Okay,
Brian.
well, Teeth is about a young girl who's a virgin, and she somehow has a condition called I'm gonna get this wrong. Something dentata, vagina dentata. Yes, where
what?
that's and see if you can guess what that means.
I was no Latin major, but I'm gonna guess it means vagina teeth.
That is.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's actually a really enjoyable movie though. So you got to see it. It's pretty. It's definitely.
Oh, it's just a delightful film.
I mean, it's right up there with the classic. But yeah, no. And so there's definitely a similarity to this in a little bit. And I know I'd mentioned, and now Amanda, I assume you've listened to the episodes previously, so you may have heard me mention the term vagiball, which, yeah. So this kind of takes vagiball to a new level at some point. So yeah,
God.
and I swear, I mean, now people are thinking I'm like either gonna typecast me as looking at horror movies that feature that area, but that is just a coincidence. I had no clue when I went and saw this.
Well, if the shoe fits, Brian.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm not someone that likes just watching women trapped underwater. So
Right. You've both got problems.
That's a new category,
Right.
I just invented it.
Yeah. Yeah, horror movies that feature the lower vicinity of a woman. Yeah. Okay.
Oh God,
Julie, my wife, Julie will be so proud. But yeah, so this one is good. It's definitely. I think it's like 12 minutes long. Definitely enough to hold your interest. It's definitely. It doesn't. Believe it or not, based on the title and what I've just said about it, it really is not comedic in any way. Although you'll probably get a chuckle out of it. But yeah, so once again, Shudder comes through with a great exclusive short that they have. So
awesome.
Whew.
Well, disc memorament for this week is thankfully short because I'm sure we have a beefy episode coming up.
Yes.
But it's really a dismal week for Blu-ray releases.
I noticed that. Yeah,
So,
two.
Yeah, two horror Blu-ray releases for July 4th. We have Accidental Exorcist which I thought was sort of like Accidental Tourist.
Yeah.
You ever see? Remember
Is
that
that what
movie?
that's exactly what I
Gina
thought.
Davis? Yeah. But this one's about a natural-born exorcist.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Who confronts rising possessions across the city. I guess he's got a knack for it.
He's like a freelance exorcist, but he
Yeah.
was born that way. I don't understand.
Yeah, how did he find
This
out though?
genre.
How did he know? Like, you kind of can tell, like, as a child playing with a lot of, like, toy doctor kits, oh, maybe he'll be a doctor. How did they figure out this one, that he was a natural-born exorcist?
That's why he's the accidental exorcist. It had to have been some kind of, childhood friend was possessed, and he just found himself speaking Catholic Latin verses. I don't know. This genre confuses me.
Well, we all know now we need to see this. And then we'll have Amanda back on after she's reviewed it.
Right.
Mm.
And then the second one's called Blood Hunters. It's about a single mother waking up in a hospital to find that everyone is dead and she is 9 months pregnant.
Or if you read the rundown, she's pregantin.
Yeah. That's my great typing skills.
Pregantin.
But yeah. Sorry, I'm not the one. I don't know what's wrong with my thing. Every time I do the rundown, it tries to autocorrect into another language. I don't understand what happened, what setting I hit, but so I can't be the one.
It must be the vagina.
It is. It must be. I must start trying to think. I'm like, in Latin, so it's trying to to do everything in Latin.
And then for June 30th, theatrical release, we have Darkness Rising from the generic horror title files.
No, seriously.
Darkness Rising. Nearly murdered by her mother as a child, a woman returns to the house where her mother went mad.
Who's in this movie? Do you know?
I have no idea. I'm sure it's not anybody important.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, theatrical.
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah. Now, Darkness Rising, though, we talk about generic titling. That sounds like that title was created by one of those Facebook games, like, letter of your first name plus your street or something.
Right, exactly.
Okay, it's got Tara Holt.
Who the hell is that?
I don't know, Katrina Law and Ted Raimi. Is
Oh.
he like a Sam Raimi?
Yeah, Ted Raimi. He's been in a million things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's... Okay, I like
Oh,
him.
yeah, he's
good.
great, Ted Raimi. Wow.
Yeah.
Who is this Tara Holt? Yeah, I don't know. Who
That name I've
She's-
heard.
Okay, so she's blonde and good looking, which I completely understand this
Actually,
movie now.
judging from the headshot, I might want to watch this film.
But I tell you though, that name actually does sound a little familiar. But then again, it's very generic, so it's Tara and it's Holt. But now, as we're all like quickly going on IMDb for this movie that we may never ever see, but
That looks cool, though.
It's got a cool poster, so it's got it's a woman with stairs coming out of her head with her eyes gouged out.
Charming.
And then like a black hole, wormhole thing.
Ah.
And then a 4 hash marks with a fifth hash mark through it.
I'm not really sure how the cosmos is going to play into this
Oh
movie.
wait, Tara Holt. No, she has a legendary credit. She was in one episode of Glee and she played Girl.
Oh, her.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I remember her.
Yeah. Oh, she was on How I Met Your Mother though at one episode.
Oh, wait, who was she on How I Met Your Mother?
Chanel.
Who the hell is Chanel?
I don't know. She's very typecast based on these. Oh, she was in the show Dollhouse as Big Sis. So
this is kind of her big break.
Yeah.
Oh, good for
She's
Tara
like
Holt.
she's like Penny from Big Bang Theory.
yeah.
Like she's just racking up those
Yes.
generic
Oh
credits.
wait, no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. She did have 2 other roles that are much different than the other ones. In Empire State, she was Hot Guidette number 2. Guidette. And Ben and Kate, she was Hot Party Girl.
Those are both offensive for similar and different reasons.
But look at her headshot. She's asking for that.
Hey, whoa.
Tim, you're gonna get in trouble.
There's some estrogen on this podcast this week.
And it's funny. She played Madison. That's her name in
Madison.
for the new movie, in the Darkness Rising movie. So yeah,
I
okay.
don't know. The poster's cool, and honestly, the synopsis sounds kind of cool.
Well, see, now that we've mentioned her name enough, she's got to follow us on Twitter. Maybe she'll come on as our first guest.
Not after what we said about her. She's never gonna follow us.
I know.
She's gonna
Yeah.
block you on Twitter.
Well, no, but she may be a fan of Amanda for defending her, so she may
There you go.
There you go. That's
What's up,
right.
Tara Holt? You go, girl.
Oh. See, this is why we needed Amanda for this first segment too, because it's just
Right.
it's usually me and Tim
Keeps
just
us straight.
stuttering through things, and this is
No.
All right, so let's get to our main event. Our deep cut is Jaws from 1975.
Yes.
Directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss. Yeah.
I can't do it as well as Brian.
But just so you know, that is not actually an imitation of Richard Dreyfuss. It's Daryl Hammond doing Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah, it's an impersonation of an impersonator doing Richard Dreyfuss.
You guys need to know that Richard Dreyfuss looks exactly like my father.
Oh, does he?
And
That's
my
right,
father
you're
has,
right.
oh my God, he has aged exactly the same as Richard
So
Dreyfuss.
he's like, looks like What About Bob? Richard Dreyfuss now?
Yes. Well, no, now he looks like Richard Dreyfuss now.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he looks exactly like my father.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. It's creepy.
Does he talk like him too? Oh,
No.
okay.
No, not at all.
Not at all. He's from West Virginia, but he looks exactly like him.
Well, now you gotta next time when you go see your dad, just picture that horrible imitation I just did and see
Richard Dreyfuss. Yeah. I did it. That was even worse.
Well, but the funny thing is, you said that he looks like your dad. He acts like my dad in What About Bob? Like the short fuse that he has, the build up to anger. My dad is like known for his quick temper at things that really shouldn't maybe give you a quick temper, but it's kind of funny.
What About Bob is amazing.
Oh, I love that movie. That's a classic. But that's for our other podcast that we do on comedies that's not out yet. But
I want to come for the What About Bob.
yes,
one day.
you basically have an open invitation to any Richard Dreyfuss movies we do.
Oh, excellent! Because of my
Yes,
father.
yes.
My father will hear about it
Yeah.
otherwise. So
Absolutely.
So let's go around the room and talk about our first Jaws experience.
Ooh.
So Amanda, when's the first time you saw Jaws?
My God, I literally don't know. I don't remember. I think I must have been a kid. But I don't remember ever being really, really scared by Jaws. So I don't know. I mean, I was such a scaredy cat as a kid that it makes me think that maybe I was a little bit older. I have clearly given this question no thought whatsoever.
Well, considering we just gave it to you, no blame.
I really don't know. I just know that it's kind of like the way that I've always known the sky is blue, the way that I've always known, that I'm a woman. I've known that Jaws is like one of the greatest movies ever made. I think I came out of the womb knowing that.
That's a great answer, actually.
Why, thank you.
See?
Yeah, and I don't remember I don't remember honestly when I saw it either. Obviously, I was too young to see it in the theater. I'm assuming, unless my mom dragged me to Jaws when I was 1. That might have happened. I don't know. She did take me to Star Wars.
Well, you did have some like traumatic like horror experiences as a kid. That could have been legit.
Yeah, but I'm sure I watched it on video when VHS rentals came out. I guess is the first time I saw it, which had been sometime in the 80s as a teenager, I'm assuming. But I don't really. I'm kind of like Amanda. I just remember always loving this movie, and I don't remember where I first saw it. But I've seen it multiple times.
Yes.
Right. No, so my first time was about 2 weeks ago. And no, I'm just kidding.
What?
No, I
gave you a really judgy
Yeah,
face.
no, it's okay. Good thing it's not a video podcast. Yeah, no, I actually, I don't remember exactly the moment I saw it. I know I was young, but I remember seeing it when it was on, I believe it was Channel 11. It was on network television when I saw it. Because when I was young, cable wasn't as huge as it is now, obviously. So I kind of remember seeing it on, with commercials. And it's funny, the two scenes I remember growing up were the two were when, Quint's speech in the little town hall meeting. Just because I thought it was funny that he was like eating a cracker during it, and and when he got eaten up at the end. So it's like spoiler alert, by the way. But if you haven't seen it, you should not be listening to it.
Spoiler alert for this 42-year-old movie.
Yeah.
That you're listening to a podcast,
Yeah, right.
which it clearly states it's about.
Right.
But yeah. So and those are the two things I remember. But I remember loving it, and then I remember when I found out that there was Jaws 2. I got really excited, and I remember our neighbors actually had a VHS collection, and at the time it was a bootleg version of it, so it was kind of cool to see that one. So, but yeah, so I remember, I guess my earliest version was I remember watching it on network television, but once you see it, loving it, and then, which I know Tim and we're going to mention later, but what I think really cemented at home was that we used to go to Universal Studios in Hollywood every year, and there was that Jaws sequence on the tram tour, and so seeing that and seeing the movie just made it instantly like me fall in love with that movie.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of the ride, I loved that ride. Now, I've never saw the Universal Hollywood because I've never been there, but the Universal Studios Florida, that was probably my favorite ride there. And then, now, granted, I was there back in, the 90s, I guess, was the first time I ever went. So it was before Islands of Adventure and all that. And I just really, really love that ride. And as you know, I won the Real Design Contest at Coastal Radio.
Whoop, whoop.
Ding. That was for my Creature from the Black Lagoon ride, which was heavily, heavily, heavily influenced by Jaws.
Yes.
Yes.
And I've made no bones about that. Like I love the concept of a dark ride, which takes place on the water.
Right.
And there couldn't have been a better movie to theme a dark ride off of. Even though that ride had tons of issues over the years. If you've read anything about that ride, it was breaking down all the time. It was just a complete maintenance nightmare.
Just like the movie.
Just like the movie. Underwater sharks don't work. That's why they're all CGI these days.
I got news for you. The one in Hollywood, which was a much simpler attraction, I know I used to go there every year, and I'd say maybe every other year it would be not working when we got there. So on the tour, and it would just, you'd go by and you'd see it kind of just sitting out of the water sometimes. And it was so sad because that was my I was obsessed with that tour to begin with as a kid, the Universal Studios tour. And that was my second favorite sequence. The first was the collapsing bridge, but that's not for this podcast. But so Jaws was always, I would always look forward to that sequence because it was just a cool thing where like the much different than the Florida attraction. This one, the whole tram would literally go around the Amity Lagoon and go onto this dock, and you'd see like a fisherman out in the water, and the tour guide's talking about him. You see the fisherman get pulled under the water, the boat, and blood bubbles to the surface, and you see the shark going around, and it pulls the dock out from under you, so the entire dock that you're on and tram tips sideways towards the water. So as a kid, that's like super exciting. You get people that are really terrified. I couldn't love it more. And, then obviously Jaws would circle around and he'd come popping out a few times out of the water right at the tram. And I have some pictures from the last time I did the tour that I'll share on Instagram that are pretty good, that shows you how like close it gets, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. So we had some other questions for Amanda here.
Oh, okay.
And the second one was, what about Jaws makes you love it so much?
Ooh, okay. This one I feel a bit more prepared for because I've given this question a lot of thought just in my own life, because I've had people ask me this. Like, that's how much of a fan of Jaws I am. They're like, but what is it about that movie that makes you such an obsessive weirdo? And I have to say, it's the little moments. Like, to me, it's a movie made up of teeny tiny brilliant moments that are from every single character. I mean, maybe I'm even kind of thinking about it more from an acting perspective, that I think that it is the most brilliant acting by a collective cast that I've ever seen. For everyone from the mayor to, Ellen, to, of course, our three main, the Holy Trinity. There, even the damn shark is a good actor. Like, they're, I'm trying to think of a perfect example. So the first time we see Brody, where are the kids? Oh, they're in the yard. Oh, here in Amity, it's the yard. Oh, they're not too far from the cop. Like, that's perfect. It's perfection. It's actually a conversation that two people would have. And I could spend hours telling you all my favorite moments from it, but it's not, I don't think about Jaws as this brilliant overall big picture movie. It is, but I think about the teeny little moments in Jaws, and that's what makes me just go, oh my God, this movie is amazing.
I gave this question a lot of thought as well, and here's what I came up with. Have you noticed that a lot of the best horror movies are by non-horror directors?
Yes.
Yep.
Like, The Exorcist, William Friedkin. You've got The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. You've got this one by Steven Spielberg. And I think that's because they approach making a horror movie as, I'm making a movie, a good movie. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what the genre is. So they're approaching it from a really good filmmaker stance versus, I'm trying to scare people, I'm trying to do this. They're trying to do that, but they're also approaching it from a pure film perspective. And that's one of the reasons I love Jaws so much. It's not approached as a horror movie. It's not approached as some popcorn movie. It's directed as if it was any other, feature film from any other genre, like a drama or an action movie or anything. Spielberg directs it just as if it was as important as any important piece of cinema ever produced.
Yeah, definitely.
And it came to be that. Exactly, you know?
Right, yeah, I mean, exactly, because that's how he's not going to approach a movie as some toss-off, B picture. He's going to approach it as the filmmaker he is. Every movie to him is a piece of cinema that he's going to create. So.
Yeah, no, and I have like I kind of feel the same way about both of what you guys said. I always tell people that, like, if you really want to see filmmaking, I mean, to me, this is, I mean, I know they say nothing's perfect. This is as close to perfect of a film as you can get, in my opinion.
Yes.
I mean,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, from the dialogue being, as you said, so natural and realistic, and there's just some shots seem like as if the camera's just kind of placed in the middle and nobody's acting. They're just being. And I think that's what it, and the casting, it was just so, so perfect. So, I mean, from the visuals were amazing. The music, which I'm sure we'll have to get into at some point, amazing. And it just, I think it revolutionized so many things. Like, I could be completely wrong here, but I think, by having that score, represent the shark stalking a victim, I don't think that other movies would have those, like, maybe I don't think that you'd have the Mama Friday the 13th if Jaws' song was so,
or the Halloween theme,
right. I mean, so you think about it, it's like that may be one of the first true times that a villain, so to speak, was given, was the score representative. So it's just, you put all that together and you just have this film that I don't know one person that I've ever spoken to that said they didn't like it.
Right.
Can I tell you a funny story about the music?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in middle school, we had a music teacher, and he was really great because he had a piano in the classroom and he could play the piano. And so he would play like little snippets of different composers and stuff on the piano live while we were sitting there, which we just thought was just so super cool.
Sure.
Now, as a kid, everybody knew the Jaws theme on the piano, the dun 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 dun. Everybody could do that because it was 2 notes, right? So we asked him to play Jaws one time. Well, he goes into the familiar dun 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 dun, and then he breaks out the dun dun, and he starts doing like all the little flourishes and stuff, and it blew my mind. It was the coolest freaking thing I've ever seen.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and so you think about it, right? That score is so iconic, even to, into other sequences. Like if I don't know if you guys, I don't know how big a hockey fans you were, but there's a team, the San Jose Sharks, and when they first opened, they, obviously it was a no-brainer. You see shark, you think Jaws. So whenever they would go on the power play, they would play the Jaws theme, and you'd have everybody in the stands making this chomping motion with their hands. And
wow.
I mean, you could be a fan of the Sharks, you could not like the Sharks. I mean, I'm a New York Ranger fan by birth, but Sharks, when I lived out there, they became my second favorite team. And so, I mean, it gives you chills when you just see an entire arena with that score blasting through and people just doing the chomp. I mean, you want to intimidate another team? I mean, it's awesome.
I love that. And Brian, you called the shark a villain, so to speak. And I have to I don't know how close you guys stick to the format, really.
No. It's
I have to mention that this is one of my favorite things about this movie is like there's not a villain because they make it such a point. Hooper has this great, and the framing of it, like Spielberg's a genius. The framing is so weird against the billboard when he says to the mayor, like, this is a machine. All it does is swim and eat and make little sharks. Like, it's not this like lecherous, manipulative creature. Like, it's doing what it's supposed to frigging do.
Right.
And it's also like, it's a fish out of water. It's out of its element, so I'm sorry. I had to. But yeah, exactly. But it's not, there's no villain. Not really.
Right. Yeah. I used villain word to the comparison of the other characters that are based on.
Why I'm glad you said villain, so to speak. Like, that's exactly how I feel about it.
It by far.
They went away from that in the sequels where they make him out to be this manipulative mastermind.
Yeah,
that's why I don't watch.
Especially in the last
God.
one, which I refuse to watch. I mean,
Oh, do your Michael Caine impression. You got a Michael Caine. Everybody's got a Michael Caine impression. Do it.
Yeah.
I must hear it.
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
one.
I'm trying to think of what...
Well, while you're waiting on that, everybody knows the famous Michael Caine quote about Jaws 4, right?
No.
So, and I'm not going to do the impersonation because I don't think I can do it, but he famously said, "I've never seen it, but by all accounts, it is terrible. However, I've seen the house that it built, and it is terrific."
I don't think I get it. Michael Caine's deep.
Yeah.
What does he mean?
He just did it for the paycheck, is basically what he's saying.
Oh, I was thinking of a metaphorical house. He means a literal
A literal
house.
house he built from Jaws 4
Oh,
proceeds.
wow.
I actually forgot he was in
Okay.
it. That's how much I try and not think. Because the funniest thing, I remember there was a bit. That is a comedian. He died. I don't know if we're going to keep this in the podcast, but or not. But either way, we can salvage it. But there was a comedian, Richard Jenny, and he did the funniest bit one time on Jaws: The Revenge. He was saying he stumbled across it, and he's like, and he's just doing these things. He's like, here's what they want you to believe. He wants you to believe that this shark finds a certain family, swims all the way across the other side of the planet to find them. But he does this. I can't do it
God.
justice, and he just does this hilarious bit.
Well, full disclosure, I have never seen the sequels because I'm too afraid. Like I don't want any kind of blemish. on...
Jaws 2 is not
No,
bad.
it's not.
Okay.
Because Roy Scheider's
Right,
in it.
and Jaws,
Okay.
Jaws 3, it actually still keeps the same family in it, but the kids are grown up, and and I like it only for the sake of that. It was it was the first 3D movie I saw in the theaters, and it was at a theme park. So that's the only things
that sounds like fun.
why I liked it.
So, Brian, give us a Michael Caine impression.
Okay, I apologize for all you Michael Caine fans out there, but yeah, I'm going to give you, I don't have one from Jaws Revenge, unfortunately, but I will give you the one from, I don't know if you guys saw Now You See Me, but there's a part where they're trying to read his mind, and the main, one of the characters, Daniel Atlas, he's trying to pick his brain, and they say that he had this brutish bulldog when he was a kid. So Michael Caine answered, and he says, "Yeah, I'll lead the line in." So he goes, "So you were a tough kid, a real rapscallion. You had a dog, a real tough dog, a brutish breed, like a real, I want to say, bulldog." And then Michael Caine answers, he goes, "Actually, I was a prissy little tot and had a white fluffy cat named Snuffles." So that was my horrible Michael Caine impersonation. But
I don't think that's horrible at all. I think that's pretty great.
yeah, so for all the viewers that we've just lost, I apologize. Tune into the Tim and Amanda show next week.
Oh my god.
But
Oh,
Wow.
Well, it can't be any worse than my Quentin impression that I've foisted.
I don't know. That was pretty good. I thought that was good.
What was your Quint impression?
I've done some Quentin
Yeah.
speeches. I'll play it for you after the show.
Okay.
So let's talk about Quint,
Oh.
because he's my favorite
Yes.
character.
Quint's amazing.
Yes, he is the best.
So Robert Shaw is absolutely brilliant in this role. Like, I can't think of another movie role where somebody has so completely embodied a character.
Yes.
And like with all his little, like you said, like the eating the crackers during his
Yeah.
talk, which is just brilliant. I mean, everything. And then then of course the Indianapolis speech, which is just like mesmerizing.
Right.
Completely
Oh, God.
mesmerizing.
And actually, there's so many, kind of like what, how Amanda was mentioning before, like the real conversation people have. I think one of my funniest scenes, and as many times as I see the movie, I don't think I quite caught it as much as I did the last time I watched it, when I was looking for as much as I could, it was just when they had, all those crazy fishermen had caught the tiger shark, and they're convinced they found it, and they found it, and you just see him floating by in the boat with this big shit-eating grin on his face, knowing that they didn't come close to catching the actual shark. And I'm like, that's brilliant. And if you think about it, right? When he comes in and he has his big entrance and his famous, hand on the chalkboard, catch him for 10,
God.
3, kill him for 10 speech. Then he disappears essentially for the movie. But he's so iconic. It's such a small thing, but he's out there. He's still around, and just in case you forgot, they throw that scene in. And then, and he was so memorable in that opening scene of his that when they mention him later, he's like, "Let's just hire this guy Quint." You're not like, "Who was Quint again? Which one was he?" No, you know who
You're
he
like,
was.
Oh, that guy. Yes.
I'll catch this bird for you.
I'll bring you the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
He's amazing. Yeah, so my favorite Quint moment is when there's a fire on the boat. He goes, take care of that fire, would you?
Yeah.
Like, as calm and as quiet as and everyone else freaking out. Brody is about, like, poor Brody. We'll talk about Brody, I know, but my God, poor Brody. He just, there are no words about Quint. There are no words about him.
Brian, do the poem.
Oh yeah. So my see, and this is one of the things I love about him, where it's like she's like, your poor Ellen Brody's like saying goodbye to her husband, knowing the possibility he's not coming back. And he's like, they're trying to have a tender moment, and he's like, hurry up, run. And then he just looks at her and he goes, here lies the body of Mary Lee, died at the age of 103. For 15 years she kept her virginity. Not a bad record for this vicinity. It's just like, he just shouts it from the top of the boat. And it's like Ellen Brody doesn't know what to do. It's hilarious. But it's so perfect of his character. And like, he just randomly goes into song, like he sings that song to the Spanish lady song.
Well, and I do.
I find myself singing that like randomly.
Me too.
Around
Yeah.
the house.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really, and it's like, and the funniest thing is there's other sequences, like that whole sequence on the boat at the end. There's a sequence where there's stuff going on, you just hear him screaming in the background at things, and he's like yelling at somebody.
It's completely indiscernible. You have no idea what
it's
he's
just
saying.
Like,
but you know it's important.
Yeah, it's like.
I'm pretty sure I used the phrase "here's to swimming with bow-legged women" like numerous times before I realized that's where I got it from.
Yeah. And this Amanda did not know this. This will get her extremely excited. At the unfortunately, the Jaws attraction is no more at Universal Orlando.
Right.
It was replaced in the area by the Diagon Alley area, and so they have the whole London front, into place where you can simulate your journey through the Hogwarts Express, the whole thing. Well, in one of the London fake storefronts, there's a little old record shop, and in it's Quint's greatest hits. Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like, that's like your dream, right? They tie Jaws into Harry Potter.
I literally have no reason to ever leave that spot for the rest of my life. I will stand there.
I think I have a picture of it, so I'll send it to you. Because, because when I was there, and it's great, and that's a typical Universal trait where they ever take an attraction out, they always try and kind of have a little, like, nod to it in the newer attraction. And so I think you can't get better than that.
Well, and the big quote in our house is, you can't say the word doll around Kevin or I with like a doll's eye. Even if it makes no sense whatsoever. If you say the word, like, oh, what a nice doll. Ta-da, like a doll's eyes.
And it's fun.
Like,
yeah, it's funny because it's such a simple, like, line, but the way he delivers it makes it.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it is. Like another one, too. I wrote a couple of one of these down. The other one that I don't know why it cracks me up, because when Richard Dreyfuss showing him that cage and he just goes, you go inside the cage? Cage goes in the water? You go in the water? Shark's in the water. Our shark. I felt like saying, duh, but it's so hilarious the way he delivers it, and then he breaks into that song, which even makes it better.
Yes. Then Hooper's face during all of it, he's just like, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, Brian's never seen me drunk, but
oh no. I hope to in the city. Hopefully you'll get drunk in the city.
If I ever get drunk enough, I will typically break into "Show Me the Way to Go."
No. Yes.
That's awesome.
You have to. You have to. I remember my father, Richard Dreyfuss himself, breaking into that song when I couldn't have been a tiny kid when I saw Jaws, because I don't remember having an association with it, because when I saw Jaws, I was like, oh, that's the song my dad sings.
Like, they stole it from him. They stole it.
I know, exactly.
You stole my song. I'm Richard Dreyfuss.
That Spielberg is nothing but a 2-bit thief. He's, Yeah, that's the funny thing. It's like, I have a feeling that I'm Richard Dreyfuss thing is now going to come a lore amongst our circle of friends here now. Just because.
I'm Richard Dreyfuss.
Well, I used to do the one, like, the one I did of Richard Dreyfuss is like when he used to go, where I loved, and I know it's kind of off topic, but it's still Richard Dreyfuss, is when in What About Bob, when they're at the dinner and he's just going like, he's like, oh, you can stay over, and he's like, Faye, it's like to me, that's like, I love that. And then when he just bursts into, when he's eating the chicken and he bursts over, it's like, Richard Dreyfuss is just, to me, is like one of my favorite people ever, so. I think I might have sent us off kilter here.
Oh my lord!
I don't know if I'm gonna recover
I love that.
Oh, that's good stuff.
We might have to do like a total off-topic episode of What About Bob one
Yeah,
time.
or of just What About Bob? So, well, speaking of Richard Dreyfuss, let's talk about Hooper.
Yes.
Because now in the book, this was interesting because I had read the novel many, many years ago, and I remember there were some key differences from the movie because a lot of people don't realize the book was like a blockbuster book. Like it was a huge success.
I didn't know that. I've never read the book.
Yeah, me either.
Before the
I have
movie
to,
came out. So Spielberg, snatched up the movie rights to it. But in the book, Hooper is just this real snobby, adversarial, a-hole and especially to Brody. And even in the book, he cheats on Brody with Brody's wife.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't cheat on Brody.
That's a different movie.
He might as well have cheated on Brody.
But yeah, so there's this really antagonistic relationship between the two, whereas in the movie, Brody and his wife are very loving and get along, and Hooper actually becomes Quint's probably more adversarial than Hooper is, and they become actually kind of close towards the end. So I thought it was interesting that he made that decision to strip all that out, because I think the reason he did so was because it took too much focus away from the shark.
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Plus, I don't want to live in a world where we hate Richard Dreyfuss, It's like,
never.
How could you hate him?
Hooper is amazing. Yeah, my I have to say my favorite Hooper moment is they're all right in front of this billboard. I think this might be my favorite scene is right in front of the billboard. And I cannot for the life of me remember what the mayor says, like, "Oh, you'd love that, wouldn't you?" Prove your, and he just bursts into laughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that Richard Dreyfuss kind of laugh. It's perfect.
That was actually really good, that Richard Dreyfuss.
I saw his...
All three of us together make a great Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
We really do.
We just have to combine it. His role, I saw his role in Jaws described as the most charming Richard Dreyfuss has ever been.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Because he's young and he's charming and he's like, you just absolutely love his character. Brody's sort of, you love Brody too. But because Brody's the family man and he's trying to do the best for his town, the sheriff, the good guy. And Quint you love because he's Quint.
Yeah.
But Hooper I also love because even though he was smart and intelligent, he just came off as, unlike the book, he did not come off as this snobby know-it-all. He was intelligent, but he was wanting to do the best for the community and for Brody. And I just thought he was just every time he was on the screen, I just love watching him.
Yes. He's just headstrong,
Yeah, he's headstrong.
He's impulsive and headstrong, and he's all about the science, but he's very naive and young.
Yeah, and his the performance of him, he goes to such different extremes. He kind of first comes out as this almost like this little nerdy-ish guy for a few seconds, and then he becomes like this. You're like, wow, he really knows his stuff, and he's kind of adventurous. And then one of my favorite scenes, obviously, is leading into the Indianapolis one, is when they're drunk and they're like let's drink to our legs. It's like that whole sequence is brilliant, and it's like, and it totally, obviously, they've spoofed that scene in a couple of movies, like in it was a Chasing Amy. They kind of had that Kevin Smith movie. They had the sequence where they're comparing all the different sex injuries, and so that that has got to be an homage to that sequence, I would imagine. At least that's how I always saw it. But
yeah, so there's a couple of other key differences in the book. Spoiler alert if you haven't read the book. But in the book, Quint is not eaten. He is actually tangled in a harpoon rope, and he is dragged under the water and drowns.
No.
I don't like that.
No. I don't like that either.
No, but in the movie, when I watched this back, and I've seen this movie 30 times, 40 times, I don't know how many times, but when I watched it back for the podcast, I was just taken aback by how horrifying that scene is.
Yeah, you don't remember it.
Scary.
How bad it is if you haven't seen it in a while.
I find myself very avoidant of that scene. If I see Jaws on TV, I will always turn it on. But if it's right before that's going to happen, I'll maybe I'm hungry, actually. And I'll tell you why, because he's so terrified. And it breaks your heart because you want Quint to look the shark in the eye and smirk at him and throw him the middle finger. And I think it's way more realistic and poetic that he is in fact terrified, and who wouldn't be terrified if they were falling into the mouth of a shark. But it's so against the grain with what you expect from his character. It gives me the same feeling as like, I would imagine like a little kid whose their father is their hero and they see someone just slap him in the face. You know, it's like that. You're like, oh God, like he's so scared.
Yeah, because
the way he's screaming.
Yeah, because the last thing you expect is a scream out of him like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and plus the shark, you've seen implications that he's killed people, or you've seen you maybe get somebody get dragged under, but you really haven't seen the shark out of the water bloodily chomping somebody in half. I mean, it's the most visceral like scene in the movie to that point, and which also just like hits you in the gut because you're just not used to that.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, it's a good segue. I meant to say something earlier, but I'll say it now at that point because that is, you know, if you think about it, it's pretty graphic of a scene. I mean, you know, especially when that crunch comes out and you see the blood come out of his mouth. I mean, for a PG movie, that's pretty graphic. Now, I don't think that movie, if that was today, I mean, it would probably be PG-13, maybe. But I mean, if you think about it, it's got, well, darkly lit, but there's like full frontal nudity in the first like 5 minutes of that movie. There's, I mean, there's not, I don't think there's many curses, but I mean, there's a couple of, deaths right in the beginning. And that movie at the end is that scene at the end is really graphic. I mean, there's a lot of, adult themes and implied. I think that may have been an R if it was out today. Possibly.
There are several limbs.
Yeah.
There's the leg that falls to the ocean, and then Hooper picks up the hand that's not connected to anything.
Well, certainly PG-13 at the least.
Definitely.
But I would almost say an R just for violence.
Yeah.
I mean, and usually, the nudity was kind of dark enough that maybe they could probably get away with the PG-13 for that, but I don't know. But yeah, I don't remember as a kid seeing it so clearly. I don't know if it's just the technology has been, the remastered versions.
That's true. On Blu-ray, you can probably see
nip.
Oh, you definitely see that. Yeah,
I definitely.
I'm not gonna make apologies. I can see, I can spot a nipple pretty clearly if it's out there for me, and so it's like on a screen I can see it. But yeah, so I can't. Like they may have had to cut some stuff to keep it that PG-13. Like they may had to have darkened that scene a little more in today, because it's so especially with digital projection, everything's so much clearer.
Well, one of the last differences in the book, and I can totally see why they changed this, because it would not play on film, and that is that Jaws is not blown up. He succumbs to his injuries and dies right before he's supposed to eat Brody.
In the hospital, surrounded by his family.
Yeah. He basically just passes away peacefully.
That's why.
Right
see, that makes more sense. So for Jaws the Revenge, why he was after him, because it's one of those little one of his kids sharks. Like, I'll grow up and get him. But
right. You have to end with "Smile, you son of a bitch."
Oh my God, that's such a great line.
You have to.
Yeah.
And it's been copied. How many times has that been copied? Where the hero says some wisecrack at the boss and then kills him. Like, what was
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger's whole career is based on that.
Yeah. Or Ripley and Aliens.
Die Hard. Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we can curse on that.
Yeah, how we said the music did that for other movies. I'm wondering if that, last line may have been so iconic to do things for other movies like that. It's you never know. I mean, because I don't claim to be a film historian by any means. So I mean, I'm sure someone would argue and say, "Well, no, it was in this film first. They did a line like this." But I mean, I know I remember that.
Actually,
that sounds like a Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah. I mean, please, I'm Richard Dreyfuss. He was in other movies before me, Faye.
That is always going to make me laugh until the day I die.
Now I just got to get the backwards man to say Faye.
Yeah. No. Backwards Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah. No, never.
That scared me. Okay.
Just stop. You're scaring everybody.
I apologize. Civil Gore is not responsible for Brian's actions.
Oh, God.
Well, let's talk about one way that Jaws was super influential. It was the original summer blockbuster.
Yes.
Like, it defined summer movies, which it continues to this day. Like, that stuff. There wasn't... You didn't really have summer blockbusters before Jaws.
No. That was, yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
I was just about to say, name another movie that's about the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And then, oh, wait a second. Independence Day.
No, but it really set the stage for movies releasing their big tentpole movies in the summer. Because this film was so successful, which is kind of insane. I mean, if nothing else, even if it wasn't such a great movie, that would have left its mark on
Definitely.
film history. It changed marketing.
You know, they had the brilliant tagline for the sequel was just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, and how many times I've known some people, you've heard these stories of people that were literally afraid to go in the ocean after seeing Jaws. And what's great about it is some of the first shark attacks happened so close to the beach. So, you that whole philosophy is, I'll just stand kind of walking along here on the shore. But no, the kid was like, 6 feet out from the beach when he got sucked in, and the dog couldn't have been that far out either.
The famous quotation or whatever is that Jaws did for beaches or oceans what Psycho did for showers.
Right. Well, what's so terrifying about it is that everyone is, I think it's a great point about Quint's death, but everyone's pulled from below when they're just like laughing and everyone is so, I mean, they're kind of dramatically having fun.
Yeah.
And then it's just this jerk. And I think that, I'm sorry, they're just like,
did you just call the shark a jerk?
4th of July.
Laughing at dramatically having fun.
But that's what's so scary to me. Like, yes, it's the music, and yes, it's the point of view from under the water of the legs and everything, but it's like, I still think about it a little bit when I'm in the ocean. I'm just like, how bad would that be right now? It still gets in my head.
Well, only when you said
point of view, though, that also reminded me, like, how many times have we seen in horror movies the point of view of the villain? Mm-hmm. Was that, I don't know if that was originated here, but it was at least influential.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, Psycho kind of had again, you can kind of go back to that a little. Had the when he in the showers, it was approaching the shower, but still, like, I don't think it was ever done in the way it was with Jaws, where it had the music and it had the. And actually, it's funny though with the one scene where Amanda, what'd you say, like having fun dramatically? What?
Dramatically
having fun. Like that one sequence where you just everyone's in the water and you literally just see the kid just get pulled under without any kind of cue coming, which I think was brilliant. And and then you have that the iconic shot of all shots that actually they name it the Jaws shot, as has been repeated in other films. Or they call it I think the official term is like the trombone shot or something I read. But that zoom in and track out at the same time, and it's like that's, you've seen that in so many times when they even done like commercials for like Star this month on Stars. We're gonna and it would show that sequence because it's so iconic.
Always.
Okay, so we've talked about Quint, we've talked about Hooper. So what about Brody?
Brody's my favorite character.
Wow, even over Quint.
Even over Quint, even over Hooper. It's Brody all the way. Because he's a raging alcoholic, right? Like, Brody has a significant drinking problem, does he not?
That's true.
He does. 100%. He is always drinking a lot of alcohol. But they keep coming back to, he's afraid of the water. Like, he is hands down the most courageous of any of them.
Right.
He's afraid of the water, and he goes on this crazy man's boat to go find this giant shark, and he's afraid of the frigging water. He's incredible. I love Brody.
Yeah, and Roy Scheider, I think it's funny because as good of a performance as he gives in it, he always seems to get like that third billing of performances because everyone knows Quint, and then Richard Dreyfuss is, because anytime you try and talk about someone else, he goes, "But I'm Richard Dreyfuss here."
Well, it's an understated role, and that to me makes that performance so good because it's. I don't want to say it's easy because I'm not an actor, but I have to imagine it's somewhat easier to play a role like Quint, where you have, you're the old sea dog, and you have it. But when it's like you're the police chief and you have to make a character out of that,
yes,
and do it the way he does it, that's got to be difficult,
Well, yeah, I mean,
and
because
one of the things
I'm sorry, I was gonna say it could have been played if it was played wrong and too over the top. It would have been laughable.
Yeah. Yes.
right, and he just seems so sympathetic. Like you feel sorry for him the entire movie. Like I always feel sorry for Brody. Like I feel like he's just trying to do the best he can. He's trying to get by, and he's got all these forces aligned against him, and he's just trying to do the best for his town.
Yes.
Yeah, and,
He even is going to go out and, like, personally save the kids that are on the mile swim. Like, he's just going to, like, go get them himself.
yeah, and and he's like, and he's got a tough task to begin with because it's not bad enough that he's trying to shut down all the livelihood, but he's the new guy in town. I think it was his first season, right? As sheriff, they say.
Yeah.
And so
he had, like, moved there the fall.
Speaking of that, also another change in the book, which didn't really come out in the movie. In the book, you find out that the mayor has ties to the mafia.
Oh, right. I heard that. I did hear that.
Yeah, which is why he can't let the town close down. Like, he's got money he owes to the mob.
Wow.
Again, another one that was just stripped out because it was just extraneous to the plot.
I gotta say, like, I've always felt like a little sorry for the mayor in Jaws. Like, he kind of can't help it. Like, it is a big deal. I didn't know he wasn't in talks with the mob, but
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I feel a little less sorry.
Yeah,
for him
because
now.
at first look of him, you're like, what an a-hole this guy is.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, like that one scene where that guy's I always think is a really good actor too, and he doesn't like you said he had a great performance, and it's very it gets so lost with all the other things in that movie, but in that one sequence where where after Brody's son is nearly attacked and everything, and he's sitting there almost and he's like, he just doesn't know what to say, and he's like, I was just doing the best for the town, my kids were in there too, like all his thought was not, like you didn't come across that he was being, like, there is that borderline, like, is he just being greedy? And he loves the power and he doesn't want to lose it by destroying the town, or does he really care for this town? And you can tell in that sequence, it's like, there's part of him that truly does. He's just trying to get this town to stay afloat. I mean, it's his livelihood too. You know?
And he believes his own denial. Like, I think he actually believes it was a boat propeller.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think he does. And it's like, and going back to Richard Dreyfuss again, I love that sequence where he goes, "This was no boat attack," and he's like,
I know.
or boat
Did you
accident.
call the Coast Guard about this?
Yeah, like
Yes,
that
he's
sequence
so
is great because he goes from like just being all scientific to like barking at somebody in a second,
I know.
Yeah, because, I mean, he knows that town has hundreds, if not thousands of people's livelihoods are depending on that beach being open. They make all their money during this weekend, weighed against the possibility that somebody's going to get attacked by a shark.
Right.
So, I mean, I can kind of see his point of view. He's like, I've got the entire town I got to look after.
Right.
That are going to be struggling if we don't keep these beaches open. I can't completely fault him for that.
No.
And
I like that. I like that approach better than the mafia thing, for sure.
That gives him too much of an out. Like it takes it takes away from his character. It makes him too one-dimensional. Okay, he's afraid he owes the mob money, so now I'm going to do this. It doesn't give him any kind of depth. It makes him really shallow. Right. And and if you think about it, it's like most of the people are behind him in that. If you, remember when he says, he goes, "We're going to close it down." And they're all like, no. And he's like, just one day. And they're like, oh, okay. They're like.
But then even someone is 24 hours is 3 days.
Oh, yeah, that woman. Oh, my God. She's totally transplanted from my area, from New York, New Jersey, tri-state area there. Yeah, she's totally from there and she like moved down there and now wants to have her little like thing.
And she's really mad.
Yeah, and she's fun, and she's very, very, very vocal about the whole thing. And then she's also the one that like has the funniest facial reaction, I think, when he does the on the board.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
I don't know what made me think of this, but the town is of course Amity, and then you've got the Amityville Horror,
right?
And Amity means like what? Like happiness, friendship, or whatever. And that word has been forever ruined for me because as a horror fan, when I hear Amity, like I think scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think friendship. I don't think kindness. I think something scary is gonna happen.
And come on, everyone knows du jour means friendship, not amity. Oh, you guys didn't see that movie, did you?
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that got totally lost. We're gonna cut that out. No, there was I don't know if you saw the Josie and the Pussycats movie, but there's there's this.
Why did you see the Josie and the Pussycats?
Oh my god, I
movie?
have
Yeah.
seen that movie. That movie's great.
Remember that du jour?
It is surprisingly
Yeah,
great.
it really is. And that group du jour in the beginning, remember? They were like, du jour means
jour.
friendship. Du jour means that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I said that. Okay.
Isn't Seth Green?
Yeah,
in du jour?
yeah. Seth Green,
Yeah. You've
Donald
got-
Faison.
I'll have to see
It's
that now.
really, really underrated. It's fantastic. movie. I'm not
I
even
was blown
being
away how
hyperbolic.
good it actually was compared to what you thought it was going to be. So
Yes.
yeah, I have it, Tim. You
It's
could.
cheeky. Parker Posey's
Yeah,
in it.
Parker Posey's in it. It's got a great cast. I mean, even Tara Reid, I think that's her best performance.
She's hysterical.
great.
Oh my god, I can't. Rosario Dawson, just forget it. I love it. It's
Oh my
great.
gosh, we're gonna have a spin-off podcast about all the weird
Yeah.
horror movies you watch.
Well, yeah, well, we'll cut that. We'll cut this whole part out because that joke would have played so well if one Amanda remembered it,
I know,
and two Tim saw it.
seriously. I know.
No, I'm totally leaving it in so everybody knows you watched Josie and the Pussycats.
Listen, Tim, I know you're gonna be staying at my house shortly, and you're gonna be perusing that wall of DVDs and Blu-rays, and I know you are gonna look at me completely different when you see some of the stuff I have up there. So the fact that I own the Paul Blart collection, it says enough, right?
Oh my
no.
god. No, Brian.
Yeah.
Faye. God.
And I got to tell you, that's not even remotely the most embarrassing film on my shelf. So I'll let Tim discover that on his own. We'll give him a good talk on the next podcast after he comes to visit. He'll see.
Oh god.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I had any embarrassing ones, but I don't think I do.
No, they're all pretty.
They're all
good.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I would say the one I think is probably got to be the most embarrassing up there, but I'll probably leave that for Tim to discover on his own. So, and then he'll pass it back to Amanda, and she'll get a good laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
I do though, but real quick though, Amanda, I do own that Harry Potter set that comes in the big chest that opens up into different
What?
things. Yeah, and there's like
What?
hidden little scrolls and bookshelves and stuff that open.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm so jealous.
So what I'll do is I'll video that. When Tim comes, I'll make a video of me
Yes,
opening it all and
please.
sending it to you. So
That would be amazing,
yeah.
please.
So all right, we went off topic. We'll get back now, but yeah. So I'll show you that.
Okay, so final thoughts on Jaws around the room.
Oh God, how do I even wrap this up? I think all you need to know about Jaws is the dinner table scene with Hooper and Brody and Ellen. And can we talk about the fact that it begins with Brody finishing his bourbon and then pouring a full glass of wine on top of the bourbon water at the bottom, and Hooper going, "You want to let that breathe?" No,
Okay. Yeah. I love that.
That
scene. That's...
is the most perfect scene of any movie I've ever seen in my life.
It tells you all you need to know about Brody
Yes.
without saying a word,
Yes.
which is awesome. That's what good filmmakers do. They can give you all the information you need without explaining it. I can't stand movies that over-explain everything like you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So, Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just reiterate, as I said before, it's like, if you ever want to really give someone an example of what a film should be, that's always has to be in the discussion, in my opinion, because it really does have everything. It's got amazing visual things, especially back then, when, it was very limited creativity you could do at that time, and they sure used it all and even invented some stuff. I mean, from the score, which and just a little thing on that score that I wrote down in there, which is kind of hilarious. When Steven Spielberg was presented that score by John Williams, and everyone knows John Williams has been some of the greatest scores of all time, he actually thought it was a joke and didn't want it. And he said that, and then I guess when he finally put it towards the movie and he realized that it was great for it, he loved it. And look, can you imagine Jaws with like a total different score, like a deedle-deedle-deedle, when the sharks come? I mean, I can. I know now you can. Now everyone will. But yeah, no. But so it's like, it just from every aspect of filmmaking in there, it hits it. There's just from amazing characters, amazing lines, amazing shots, amazing music. I mean, there's never a spot where the movie feels like it's dragging. Never feels like there's anything in there that's not needed. It's just, that's why I said it's as close to a perfect film to me as you can get.
Yes, it's a master class in filmmaking. There's a reason it's a classic. When you see classic movies, and like when I was younger and I didn't understand movies and stuff, I would see this stuff, I go, that's boring. Like, you know, you see these, there's reasons these movies have stood the test of time. There's a reason, like, this movie's 42 years old and we're still talking about it on a podcast. And it's because all of the things you mentioned and the fact that it's just a masterclass in filmmaking.
I mean, think about it.
It's perfect.
Amanda's on a podcast that got its name from this
Yes,
movie.
Exactly.
Yes, you're gonna need a bigger podcast.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
we'll let Amanda
my
pimp
God.
her stuff at the before we go for sure, because she's becoming much of a podcast legend as anyone can
Right,
be right now.
exactly.
No.
She's making a living from podcast guest
Yeah,
hosting.
seriously.
That's not
Even-
accurate
No,
at all.
you've been. Let's see. You've been on. You're gonna need a bigger podcast where you have a
Yes.
pretty starring role on that for that Star Wars, the Star Wars ones. You've been a legendary character on Coaster Radio,
Yeah.
and now you're on probably the one that you'll like kind of hide from your resume, Civil Gore. So
Oh no, I was gonna say this is what I'm most proud of.
is it because of all the Richard Dreyfuses? Okay.
Yes.
then that's
Yes.
that's a win. But
My dulcet tones have been replaced by Richard
I
Dreyfuss's
know.
terrible
Well, I'm
tones,
sure some out
whiny
yeah, well, some
tones.
people out there which not pleased with the dulcet tones, and actually,
No,
good thing we
we've
didn't
had
do that other
complaints.
thing I was gonna do, but I'm gonna tell you guys anyway. We're gonna start the show with just having it go like dulcet, 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 dulcet. But yeah, so there you got a little behind the scenes peek.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so
Well, let's do the beer pairing because this is the most awesome beer pairing we've done
yeah,
yet.
it has to be. And and Amanda will probably like this if she even knew that this was a real beer, but the Narragansett Lager, which is the beer that Quint drank in the movie, and then he did the famous scene where he crushes the can, and then Richard Dreyfuss
Yeah.
crushes his coffee. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I managed to. I went and looked, found some Narragansett. Narragansett Lager, and actually I'm so bummed because 2 years ago they actually came out with a 40th anniversary can to make it look exactly like it did in the movie.
Oh,
So
man.
I'm
I
so
would
bummed that
love
we didn't have
that.
this podcast 2 years ago because that would have been a complete no-brainer. However, I do plan to visit this brewery because my brother did actually, and that's where kind of Tom's shirt came from. Our friend Tom, who many might know as a certain lobster on another certain podcast. There's a shirt my brother had from Narragansett Company where it says "Party like a lobster," and so I had showed it to
Aw.
Tom, and he immediately ordered the shirt. So yeah, and that's basically where that came from, is that brewery. So yeah, so that's our beer pairing. So you
Wow.
can't get much better than that, unless there was like a beer called like Richard Dreyfuss IPA. So, you know.
I want that beer now. Somebody make that, please.
I'm gonna save you, Tim, a Narragansett Lager for your trip. So I'll make it
Awesome,
when you come
yes.
here. We'll have one that night in honor of the podcast.
So, for a trivia question last week was about Get Out,
Yes.
and it was regarding the role of Chris. And we had asked who Jordan Peele originally wanted to cast as Chris, which we thought might surprise
Yeah,
you.
Amanda, you want to take a stab at it?
Oh God. I'm gonna go with Kevin Hart.
Well,
Kind of close.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
close.
well, yeah, it was definitely another comedian, another big stand-up comedian. Little bit older though,
You were on the right
Yeah.
track. Yep.
Chris Rock?
a little
Nope,
further
even
back.
older.
Oh, I was gonna say Richard Pryor, but that wasn't possible.
No, a little up. You got right between those two. Maybe you got.
Oh God.
Okay.
Eddie
Yep.
Murphy.
I
There.
can't do the laugh. I was
You
trying to
clearly
do-
can.
Yeah,
though,
you
'cause that
did
was
that perfect.
No kidding.
can't
He's
do
way
it.
too old. No
Yeah.
offense, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, exactly, and that's actually
Yeah,
why
Eddie Murphy.
they changed it, because I mean, he actually. The thing is, the reason why he wanted Eddie Murphy for that role is because of a bit that Eddie Murphy did in stand-up that kind of was like a similar situation to the plot of Get Out, where he was going to his girlfriend's home and how uncomfortable he felt. So he actually kind of had Eddie Murphy in mind for that role, but obviously, as you played out, it needed a younger character in there.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so no offense to Eddie Murphy, but you know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's a good. You were on the right track. So it's good that you jumped right for a stand-up comic because as obviously Jordan Peele is a big comedian, and that goes to that was another one I was gonna say, Tim, when you're talking about some of the best horror movies are made by non-horror people. And
There you go.
there's
Perfect
a modern
yeah.
example. And just like we said with the new Halloween is going to be done by Danny McBride. So, I mean, you know what? That's got all the potential there to be a winner.
Yeah, because sometimes it helps to have a different perspective on a genre film. Like, sometimes you can be too close to the material. I think sometimes a fresh pair of eyes can make something really cool.
Right. Definitely.
So the trivia question for this week, there were 2 actors who turned down the role of Quint.
And thank God they did, I tell you.
Thank God they did, because Robert Shaw was freaking born for this role.
Yeah.
So we will give you the answer to that next week.
Yes.
Ooh.
So, yes.
Think about that.
So, Amanda, we can give it to you off the air if you want, just so you're not, like, tossing and turning all week trying to figure this out. So.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
Amanda got
One
privy.
of them I want to say, the first name I want to say really loud because it reminds me of.
Oh
another
my
bit we
God,
had
that's
going.
right. I know exactly what you're thinking.
So bring that back up
We
next
will.
week.
Yes, we'll bring it up. And immediately after we stop recording.
Yes.
Because I know, once you said that, I'm looking at that and said, oh my God, that couldn't have been, that's too perfect. But yeah. So I guess now to wrap up, we definitely want to give Amanda, let her plug something, because she has been just a super awesome guest.
A delight.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
a total
it's
delight.
as amazing as I
thank
thought it
you.
would be to have you on the show, because
Thanks.
you just have that natural. I mean, both you and Kev too. You really do. You guys just have that natural like presence to do these kind of things like that. It's like me, like Tim and I. If you listen to some for early shows, it's like, I mean, we're just like all over the place. But you come on and you're just like, it's so like as if you've been doing it for like 75 years or something. You know? It's like,
Oh, geez. Well, I hope I don't look a day over 73.
no, definitely not.
But thank you. That's so nice.
So yeah, so we definitely want to give you some to let everybody know where they can find you at other places, and your
Sure.
blog and your. All right, it's a blog you do.
It is
Yes.
a blog, and it's Walking Dead specific. And it's actually even more specifically episode recaps for Walking Dead. It's Tumblr, so you can find it at The Star and The Gladiator, all one word. .tumblr.com, obviously without the all one word.
Yeah.
So The Star and
Oh,
the
no wonder why I
Gladiator.
didn't find it. I was typing it as we speak, and I'm like, that's a
Yes,
really long
exactly.
thing.
And it's hilarious.
But should I?
And believe it or not, I am like actually a huge Walking Dead fan. So I'm not like making fun of it. I'm making fun of some people
What?
on
I
it.
have to say, I do. I know you may like totally look at me differently after this, but yeah, I have not watched the show yet. I know it's terrible. I'm meaning to. It's just we just haven't got the time to start watching it. Julie wants to watch it. We both said we got one of these days we're just gonna sit and binge watch it as much as we can. And try and.
It's a rough one to binge watch.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
It's just so intense. But now's the time. 'Tis the season, because it's not gonna be back till October. This is kind of my down season with writing. I usually don't post anything in between seasons except when they always release the trailer for the next season at Comic-Con.
Oh, okay.
So typically that's happening in, I think it's at Comic-Con. Typically it's happening in July. The trailer gets released. So I'll usually make a post about that. But yeah, I mean, when the seasons are on, I post every Monday my thoughts on the episode. And, I try to kind of have a funny angle with it. And then the only other thing I'll plug is not my podcast, but my very good friend Nick Smith's podcast, You're Gonna Need a Bigger Podcast. You can find it on what is it? SoundCloud and something else.
Stitcher, I think. Right?
Stitcher. Yeah, I think it's Stitcher and SoundCloud, and it's just all things nerd and so, right up my alley. And right now we're doing Star Wars Virgins, which Kevin and I had never seen Star Wars, any of them, until we started watching them and recapping them on this podcast. And sometime soon we're going to be doing Harry Potter Virgins, in which I actually get to be an expert. Thank God.
Oh, I'm definitely going to listen to that. Because I got a news here. I am one of, probably next to your host there, I'm one of, self-proclaimed one of the biggest Star Wars fans out there, and so it's like, and yet I enjoyed it so much because it's rare you get to hear someone's fresh perspective on those movies, because all my close group of friends have seen it to death already, and then there were some things that you guys pointed out, that you and Kev pointed out, I'm just like, oh my God, they're right. I don't think I ever caught that.
So good to know.
Yeah, so
that's so good to know.
Yeah, I enjoyed those so much, and I was like, so it's like I can't wait till I think you guys. I know Kev had said there's a little break on it, and they should be coming back soon.
Yeah, our host went and had himself a little son, a little baby son.
Congratulations!
So, I mean, his wife had the son, but they both had the son. But we did actually, since Little Mason came into the world, we have recorded our episode about episode 3.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that one.
Yeah, and so now we did the machete order, so now we're picking back up with Return of the Jedi.
Oh, nice.
Which, so that's where we'll be next, and we should be doing that pretty soon.
Okay, good. Yeah, and if seriously, guys, you gotta listen to that podcast. It's brilliant. It's hilarious. And as funny as Kevin and Amanda are separately, together it's just comedic gold. It really is. You guys play off each other so perfect. And I still have, not to give a big spoiler, but still, you will be having Amanda's almost musical way of saying #Harry Potter in space in your head since you listened to it. So.
All roads lead back to Harry Potter in all aspects of my life. You should know that.
Yes, Amanda's, and it was cracking me up today on your Facebook where you couldn't get that thing to work with the watch.
I can't. I'm still so.
It still doesn't work.
It still doesn't work.
Oh no!
Nope. I've tried it on a desktop. I'm so bitter. I'm so bitter. I'm really, I of all people cannot get the Facebook Harry Potter Easter egg to work.
Is it just the app needs updating? Maybe, I don't know.
It just does nothing. No, because I even checked to make sure I had a new version of it. I Googled it. Nothing I do.
That's so
nothing
weird.
I do works. I guess it's because I'm a muggle.
That's not right, though. Of all people, you deserve it, and everyone else shouldn't have it.
That's how I feel about it too.
Damn Zuckerberg.
I know.
He's an evil, cruel genius. I guess.
Well, I do want to mention, because I posted it on our Twitter and our Facebook, that we're resurrecting. Well, we never stopped it. We've always had this idea of a contest. And the contest is, leave us an iTunes review. And I know it's a pain to leave iTunes reviews. I know.
It's not that bad.
But it's not that bad. Yeah, exactly. It's not that bad. So if you leave us an iTunes review, you will be automatically entered into our contest to win a free Blu-ray and your choice of movie that we're going to cover on an upcoming episode. And let me tell you, we don't have that many iTunes reviews. Your chances are pretty darn good.
Yeah, especially right now, if you jump in it quick.
Yeah. So definitely go out there and take the time to do that, because you get a free movie out there.
Hello.
And you can give us the most god-awful movie to review, and wouldn't you just love to do that? Or you can give us a really good one like Exorcist.
Yeah, and just remember now, I had mentioned earlier that I have the Paul Blart collection, so Paul Blart 2 could be coming your way. No, I'm just kidding. It will be a brand new movie.
We would not do that.
It will. Yeah, it will not be out of my collection, mostly because I'm weird and I can't bear to let one go. But it will be and it will be horror themed, obviously.
So we want to thank Amanda again for coming on the show. This is awesome. She took her night out to come over and record.
Oh, thanks,
yes,
guys.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
So
It was
cool.
awesome.
It's great to have guests on the show, and really our guest episode of Maximum Overdrive with Kevin was one of our highest rated episodes. I expect this one will be too.
Oh, yeah.
So just be prepared. They're doing Sweeps Week, podcast Sweeps Week. You and Kevin are coming on.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
That
Let's
sounds good.
combine the two powers.
Yes. Got to pick an iconic movie for that one,
Oh, God.
If we do that, though, I'm going to need a bigger studio.
Right.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
nice
there we
tie-in,
go.
Tim. Mr. Segway does it again. There you go.
All right, guys. So I guess we'll sign out. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.